Yes, hello and welcome back to the Wildcard Rewind. It is a Friday night that we're recording. It feels completely bonkers that we're doing this on a Friday night and not a Monday night. But here we are. We're continuing with our rookie reviews, and we are going to be diving into the wide receivers.
I just want to rewind to when we were young and hard. Back to all those good times. Take me back to the start.
Yes, it is Friday. We are here. I've got the best one from the Wildcard Rewind with me. I am joined by Lewis. How are you, mate? How are you doing on this wonderful Friday evening?
I'm good, thank you. I think I've got the best one with me. It feels very weird recording on a Friday. It's a slightly strange feeling. But you know, beers in, let's go. Party night, boys' night.
Beers in. Oh, I haven't had one of them for nearly 4 months now.
Ah, Jesus.
Oh, it sucks, doesn't it? It sucks to be doing all this training. But yeah, me and Lewis are here, but we are joined by an amazing guest to talk through wide receivers with us. As soon as I put this into the group about that we were doing rookies, he said I want to come on about and talk about wide receivers because I love so many of them. We are joined by one of the Wildcard Devy crew. Guys, it is Jord, or at Jord M87 on Twitter. Jord, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, guys. Thank you for having me on. I think my message was I want to talk for Roma Dunze for about an hour. I think that's why I replied back to
you. Pretty much. But where do you think he's going to land, Jord?
Chicago, New York. You can't go wrong with any two.
Yeah, we were talking before we came on that Jord basically doesn't like to give predictions on where they're going to land, so we're going to make him do that a lot tonight, Lewis, aren't we, mate?
Every single player, all we're going to bring Jord in for. Paul and I are going to do the analysis, and then right at the end we're going to go, and Jord, where do you think he's going to be drafted?
Yeah, and it's gospel as well, mate, so you know you've got to do it.
You're paying 100 quid on every single pick.
Best really think about it then.
Yeah, you better had. But yeah, before we get into our wide receivers, let's, as we always do, we like to sort of mention the big news of the week, and if there is any, and there's some quite big news this week. Rashee Rice is in a bit of a spot of bother. Guys, what do you think is going to happen to Rashee Rice before we get into sort of his values and stuff? Do we think that he's going to get punishment? Do we think he's going to get bans and stuff like this? How are we all feeling about it? Jord, we'll come to you first because Lewis is so excited to talk about it. So we're going to come to you first, Jord.
Yeah, he looked like I saw him coming off the edge of his seat there, ready to get into it. Yeah, obviously it's not a good look, is it, and stuff when things like this happen. But in the NFL, for me and stuff, I just like to see what happens. You expect a ban coming. Like, I'm not an expert in this department whatsoever and stuff, so like I wouldn't like to say how long it is or anything like that. Like, I'll leave that to Lewis and stuff. But yeah, I would expect a ban, but it's still quite early days and stuff. There was a rumor today about some of that escalated quickly that ended up being knocked back a bit. You know, it was like meant to be a false rumor. So yeah, just shows how early it is and how much can change in a couple of days. So we'll wait to see what happens, but I'd expect a ban of some kind.
Yeah, Lewis, you could have your say now.
Yeah, I think for me, so I worry as a Rashee Rice owner. I don't think that this is going to be a particularly big thing, though, because of the nature of the NFL. You get something like this every single offseason where someone's been an idiot. The interesting thing with this is that we just didn't know the extent of what had happened. We had such vague reporting that it could have been anywhere between, you know, he's been drunk behind the wheel, or he's out the country and someone's stolen his car, and everything in between. It seems like the most likely thing is probably a 2-game suspension, something like that. There's been lots of speculation all over Twitter, but I think the worrying thing is that we had no. So there are some players that when this happens, when you get, you know, reports that Antonio Brown is holding someone hostage with a gun, then you're like, yep, that kind of makes sense for him. That's kind of what I expect from him. But with the NFL, it's just so worrying. I mean, a few years ago, we hadn't heard any character issues on Henry Ruggs, and he's in prison now. So I think that's kind of the worrying thing, is whether or not this is emblematic of deeper issues within his character, and whether this is going to be something that continues to happen, rather than being particularly concerned if this is that he's going to get prison time or something. Because like he'll definitely be playing next season. Even if it is a suspension, it'll probably end up being in 2025.
Yeah, completely agree with you. So I follow a guy on Twitter. I'm guessing you guys do as well. Is it Drew Davenport? That's his name. And I kind of, when these things come out, I kind of wait before I start speculating and listening to things. I kind of wait and see what he says, because he'll put a massive thread together, sort of cover all bases, what he knows from his point of view and stuff like that. So I waited for that. And he said, to be honest, I don't really see much happening with this. It'll probably be like you said, a 2-game ban at most, something like that. And then today, Jord, that rumor that you were on about, it was the fact that he had marijuana in his car, wasn't it? And like Drew Davenport tweeted about that, and he was like, there's such a difference, because they're all saying it's a felony, and one was worded with grams and one was worded with ounces, and he was like, one you're going to jail for, and one you're just going to get a slap on the wrist, like, so before we all start jumping to conclusions, let's start getting the facts and stuff. So yeah, part of me was hoping that Rashie Rice was going to jail and Louis Rees-Zammit was going to be escalated to the starting squad, and as a proud Welshman, and I just wanted to see Mags's face as Louis Rees-Zammit starts for the Chiefs next year, and how slow he is and stuff, and just a deep ball and he runs the length of the pitch. I just think it would just be so amazing to see that. But
I was just touching on Louis Rees-Zammit quickly. I was out with my fiance's parents this last weekend for Easter, and we've spoken a lot about this ball. They're from South Wales, so I spend a lot of time around the valleys, and it's so fantastic. Like lots of people, Jess's friends and her parents all know that I do a podcast and know that I'm into the NFL. And when we were out, at least 3 or 4 different people stopped me to be like, "Oh, what about this Louis Rees-Zammit thing? Like, do you think he's going to make it? Do you think what do you think is going to happen? You've seen he's on the Chiefs, and these are people that I didn't even know if they'd heard of the NFL. I didn't know if they could name like that the Chiefs are a team and they've won the last 2 Super Bowls. Like, so it's such an exciting thing that like clearly the outreach of having a player make it into the NFL from outside the US, it just clearly like I got to see in that small South Wales Valleys town how everyone was now hooked on the NFL to see what happened with him.
Yeah, and the problem is I don't want to be the person to tell him, but the chances of him actually making it onto the starting roster and playing and being efficient is very, very slim. Like, you know what I mean? So the reality is, I think he's made the right move stepping away from rugby, because the contract he signed, I think, is $900,000 a year or something.
Yeah.
The contract he was on at rugby was £225,000 a year. And you're going, okay, so he's basically quadrupled that in 1 year. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
fair play to the kid. But the reality is, I don't really think he's going to make it. I don't think he's going to be anything. I hope he does. Because I will stand up and I will hold my hand on my heart and I will sing the Welsh national anthem, and I'll do it on the podcast. But yeah, another thing I wanted to jump in before we get into the wide receivers is these rumors of Zeke heading back to the Cowboys. Do we think Zeke's going back to the Cowboys? And do you think he holds any value there? Or are we all out on Zeke?
Zeke had a couple last season.
Jord. I was going to say, go on, Jord, but go on, Lewis. You take this one.
No, Zeke had a couple of weeks last season where he was a wide receiver one, a running back one, and I definitely think the Cowboys depth chart. I think he'll end up going back there, because I just think they've got no one. He's still a free agent. Like the stars are just lining up, and I think he'll end up being an RB2 this year, because I think they'll just keep giving him the ball on the goal line, which I think is sad because they could do something way better. But I think that's what will happen.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Do you agree, Jord?
Yeah, I think it does feel like he probably would go back there, and like I say, depending what rookie, if they pick up a rookie, which is likely, he's not a bad person to have on your roster whatsoever, is he, and stuff. I think Louis said he had a couple of good games, which surprised me last year. I thought he was just going to go there, not doing much, but had a couple. So he's got some life in him. So it's not a bad stash, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's a cheap buy for your, that experienced head to sort of maybe put his arm around a rookie and sort of give him a few guiding pointers and all of that, and then maybe ride off into the sunset and call it a day after this year. That may, it may be his retirement plan. I want to finish in Dallas, But guys, let's talk about what we're here to talk about, shall we? So before we get into the players and stuff like that, I want to ask you guys, what is the main things you look for when you're scouting wide receivers? So, Jord, we'll come to you first.
I went down a little different route here because obviously, like, there's things like route running and things that like you look at when you're scouting film, going into the NFL. Well, one thing obviously is like a Devy player and stuff that we look at, and his early production in college. If you I kind of like my wide receivers to have early production as a freshman. If you're putting up good production in your first year as a freshman, coming up against players that are 3 or 4 years older than you, it's always a good sign, going to the next level. And there's a place, I'm not sure if you're too familiar with it, it's called Campus to Canton, because obviously it's kind of like a college fantasy and that side of it, but they do a metric and stuff. Because I don't have time, unfortunately, to do loads of metrics, so I try to take what I can from other people and stuff. And I kind of watch the film and watch things. And Campus to Canton do a fantastic thing where it's a week wide receiver 0, I think it's called. It might be a couple more words, and where I think they have eight segments stuff where they want the wide receiver to hit at least 3 of them in the first year in college, and it's silly things like 5 targets, 100 receiving yards. It's not massive targets, and I think if you don't hit any of them in your first year as a freshman, I think it's like less than 3% of players finish as a wide receiver 3 in the NFL, and they've gone back from, I think it's 2009 to 2019 or something like that, might be a bit further back than that, to put up their metrics of only 3%. So if they're not hitting in the freshman season, obviously it just shows you that going on to the next level, a low percentage of them do not make it going forward, and that's like just wide receiver 3 as well. So yeah, it's something I thought I'd just throw in a little bit different, and I'll drop the link and stuff and everything like after this and stuff, so people can go read it after. It's a really interesting read, and so it's a good carriageway for when this comes out, because I know that our friend over at Devy Jack has dropped a Campus to Canton episode, so it's a good segue onto that as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Listening to that Campus to Canton one, it's always something that I've thought, do I want to get into? But I've dipped my toe into the Devy sort of fountain and realised that I don't know enough about college plays to even consider Campus to Canton now. But it does sound like an absolutely incredible thing to get involved in. So I am excited to listen to that episode. But Lewis, I think you've unpaused now. What do you look for in a wide receiver? Nope. So we've got no noise, Lewis. Can't hear anything you're saying. So I'll jump into what I look for. So this is me personally. I kind of like them speed demons, I like somebody that's going to get downfield and get himself open and get going. So this year, somebody that I like a lot is obviously Xavier Worthy. He did that 4.21 in his 40 dash in the combine, and I just like these really quick mobile players that they're hot on their toes and everything like that. So that's something that I look for me. Lewis, we're gonna try again. Are you back?
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Am I back? Hooray! So I think for me, it's route running, its ability to get open. It's that quick twitch as well. So I really like speed, but for me, I'm less interested in things that you basically in college, if you're incredibly athletic, you can be the most athletic person on the field. When you get to the NFL, that's unlikely to keep being the case. So when players are kind of muscling through a bunch of broken tackles or going over the top and mossing someone, that interests me less than the ability to get open, because that translates to the NFL. From my experience, it tends to be, we'll come into this a bit later, like it tends to be the kind of guys that I like is those guys that I can see them get open quickly. They're able to win at different areas of the field. They're able to run kind of very precise and concise routes as well. I don't like lots of flair on route running. And just, that ability to get open, separation metrics always translate much more than the ability to go over the top of someone who's going to be a car salesman in 3 years.
Love it. But with that, we'll speak about the goods, but we also need to speak about the bads. So is there any skill set that you'd like to avoid or think that doesn't translate well? So I'll start with this. So it's not something that I tend to avoid. It's something that I feel hasn't been the case for the last couple of years. And everyone wants this prototypical, tall, fast wide receiver that could do everything right. And I kind of feel that has kind of failed the last couple of years. So I think you need to look and go, actually, the small, the skinny ones and the fast ones and everything. I think everyone is making it now. So I think I'm kind of more, I try and stay away from your, when basically somebody steps up and goes, you know what he is? He's the Mike Williams. He is Mike Williams and he's going to be amazing. And he ends up being Quentin Johnson and he burns you everywhere. So that's for me. But Jord, what things do you dislike and you try and avoid?
Yeah, I think I'm on a similar page to Lewis, but maybe mine's a bit more straightforward. As in, I am 6'5", so I'm not saying short guys just because I don't like short guys. But like I've just been burnt a lot with them, and I know some do come through and stuff, and obviously and do well for themselves in the NFL. But a high percentage of players, like I've put three players that have that represent our teams. Obviously, there's Rondale Moore, Tutu Atwell, and obviously Eskridge, who obviously didn't work out for the Seahawks. Stuff like picks in the second round. Just guys like that just always worry me at the next level. Like I say, I know Josh Downs has done a little bit better than them in his first year. Obviously, we'll see what he's like later on and stuff. But I try and stay away from them just because I think for me, and I have been burnt a lot with them. I just don't see the percentage wise. It's like it doesn't work out well at the next level. But I understand that obviously some do sneak through as well. But I'll just take my chances of not selecting them.
That was all in the same draft as well, wasn't it? That I think it was that. I think the Seahawks wanted Rondale Moore, so went for the next best thing in D. Eskridge, and they just went, okay, we'll get another quick, small, fast guy. And then I think the Rams wanted Eskridge, and then ended up with Tutu as well. And then you end up with the most successful player no longer being on the team. Like Rondale Moore is the most successful of the three, and he plays for the Falcons now.
And he was my most owned player in Dynasty at one point as well.
Really?
Because I was just like, he's amazing. I'm going to take him everywhere, and he's done absolutely nothing. Nothing. But yeah. So summarizing these 2 points, can you give me an example of your type of rookie wide receiver?
Do I not get to do mine?
I thought you had.
No, I did what I like. I didn't do what I don't like.
Oh, okay. Go on then.
Paul and I are going to come to blows today.
No, we're not. No, we're not. So moving on then, yeah.
But where do you think he's going to land, Jord? Where do you think these players are all going to land?
Yeah.
So for me, and actually talking about Rondale Moore is a good segue into it, because it's so the contested catches we've already spoken about a little bit, but Yak and short A-dot players are players that always worry me as well, because it's manufactured production, and also again you're going against lesser athletes. So I've highlighted Malachi Corley as someone that I don't particularly like, who's kind of the Yak king, but it's much easier to bowl over defensive players who are never going to play in the NFL than when you come up against these kind of elite level linebackers, safeties, and corners, is going to be much harder. But like Rondell Moore, as a good example of it, someone that it's all has to be manufactured production, and it sort of comes then when you get players that could only do one thing. I think a lot of these yards after the catch guys are all white roll. We'll set up screens for them, or we'll get them involved in the running game, like, and it's all about. Yeah, I know that like a player like Debo does it, but Debo is actually a good route runner as well, and is actually that level of athletic freak that he's well higher than everyone else. Whereas a lot of these players that their entire thing is yards after the catch, that just worries me that it's not going to translate in league.
Yeah, I love it. So summarizing these two these 2 points, can you give me an example of a type of rookie wide receiver who's been your guy in previous years? Jord,
Go
on, mate.
I put this guy down. It was an interesting topic in our X group and stuff. So I shoved him into what he was. The guy I was high on. It was Drake London, but it was. I don't know why and stuff. And I'm a fan of big-bodied guys who've got obviously might not separate loads. Obviously, if they separate more than expected, brilliant. But if they can separate just a bit, but really good hands, you know, someone like obviously Roma Dunze. I know I'm getting him in. I'm sorry, guys, but Roma Dunze this year.
That's one for the episode.
Someone like Roma Dunze, someone like Drake London. Obviously, I'm hoping that because I was high on Nico Collins a few years ago, and I've had to wait a couple of years. But I hope Stephon Diggs doesn't burn me after his first good year. But yeah, I'm hoping Drake London will show that with a I wouldn't say it's a better situation as quarterback than he's had and stuff. So yeah, people like that I'm just a sucker for, which sometimes also can burn myself as well at the same time.
I've literally just sent our good friend Mags a text to say that you're praising Drake London on our show, to see if he wants to come on and start a Twitter war with you. You know, Lewis, do you want to take this one now?
Yeah, I tend to go quite a different way. So I always tend to fall in love with the short area quickness guys who are better route runners coming out. And like the example that I've used is Elijah Moore, who, you know, yes, is slightly shorter, but is relatively thick frame as well. So not falling into that DS Cridge Tutu Atwell thing of being short and skinny. But really good route runner, can win all levels of the field. Yes, slightly shorter, but can play inside and outside. It tends to be that kind of like the versatility and route running tends to be what I fall for more than anything else. It's why, again, like JSN, like so last year's class, we didn't have any of the sort of alpha weapons that Paul's been talking about earlier that you worry about, aside from Quentin Johnston, who obviously did not turn into that. But then players like Jordan Addison and JSN really appeal to me. It's that type of wide receiver that I tend to like.
The JSN was one of my examples, so I kind of liked him, and I also liked the Slim Reaper when he came out, Devonta Smith. He's another guy that I was a big fan of. But yeah, guys, let's get into these rookies. We've spoke for 23 minutes now, and Jord's only been able to mention his guy once. So let's get into this. So it is an amazing wide receiver class. There's 3 established top guys, in my opinion. Let's start at the top. So we'll split this into 2 questions. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. your number 1? Lewis?
Yeah, it's very close, but yes.
Jord?
Yeah, I'm saying it's. I wouldn't argue either way if anyone wants to choose, but Marvin Harrison is still my number 1.
So I'm going to go against the grain and say no. I have 2 reasons. In redraft, I don't think Marvin. I think Marvin Harris Jr. is not going to be the guy that finishes as the number 1. Like out of the rookies this year, I don't think he scores the most points. I think if we were talking on a dynasty perspective, yes, MHJ is my number 1. But in redraft, I'm all about Malik Neighbors. and I think he has a better season than Marvin Harrison Jr. And the second reason is Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to go to the Cardinals, and I think he's going to be number one, and everyone's going to call me a homer, and then he's not going to hit, and then I'm just going to be really annoyed, and then I'm going to be dolly pissed off. So if I lower my standards a little bit, hopefully then he proves me wrong, because that's just what we want. But guys, let's with this one, how close are the top three for you guys? Jord, I know you said you wouldn't sort of argue with anyone if they had it any other way. Is it a 2 and a 1, or do you see all three in the same sort of tier? And where do you think all three of them land?
It's hard for me, Chris, obviously, because I know the right answer is 2 and a 1.
No. It's an opinion. It's an opinion. There's no right answer.
No, it's
so it's how you want it.
I probably have Rome Odunze closer to the other two than most people, but it is Rome Odunze number 3 compared to the other two guys. But I do think Rome Odunze, it sounds weird to say it's not been slept on, but I feel like he's close to the other guys. I think I've been obviously blowing trumpet for him for a long time watching Washington, but I think what made me happy over this last week or two, where I might have got his name wrong. Is it Matt Harmon who does the reception? I might have got his name wrong and stuff. When he got that out for Rome Odunze, it kind of like made me smile a bit looking at it. I think people realise that this guy is actually more than just a big guy who he can actually separate relatively well and stuff and everything, and also, but he's just got really good hands. And so I do, like I say, I do think the other two are in front, but I think it is a lot closer in my opinion than people are making out, like the way that they drop Rome Odunze down. But I think he has come back a bit over the last month. I think when they first started, people diving into tape and stuff, I think he has moved closer to him in other people's rankings. But yeah, it pains me to say, Paul, but the other two are in front of Rome Odunze. Yeah.
Lewis, are you similar 2 and a 1, or are you a 1 and a 2, or a 3?
I'm exactly the same as Jord. That it is MHJ and Neighbours, and then a tiny gap, and then Odunze. But like the nature of it, the way that people are talking about these three, like I wouldn't begrudge anyone who had it in any different order. The thing with Odunze, like, and to sort of give him his moment as we talk about the other players that are above him, like it's the hands more than anything. I'm glad you touched on it, that like I think there's a chance that Rome Odunze has the best hands in the draft, and it's not. I think people look at Rome Odunze and they think, that's an alpha outside threat, but actually the hands are fantastic as well. He's not a Quentin Johnson style body catcher. He's very much a hands catcher. So yeah, it's very, very close between the three, but that's kind of where the teardrop is. Definitely after those three, there's a bigger teardrop than there is between each one of them.
Yeah. So following on with when we're chatting about these three, so to me now, with the redraft sort of theme to it, I don't think I'll have much of Marvin Harrison Jr. because I think everyone's going to go absolutely crazy for him, and he's going to be an early pickup in most drafts. I'm kind of taking your advice, Jord, and thinking that I want Odunze on my team because I think he's going to be the value. I think people, if they're going to drop him down, he's somebody that I could pick up a couple of rounds after sort of MHJ. And with what you're saying and how close he is in your sort of rankings, it's somebody that I feel I'm going to have a fair amount of, and I think I'm going to be quite happy with that. Do you guys agree? Are you going to be people that reach for MHJ in these redraft drafts, or are you? I'm not going to go that early on him. I know what these rookie wide receivers are like in redraft year one. Go on, Jord. Go on.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think
I'll let you answer, Jord, because I'm trying to get the ADP up in the background.
Yeah, I think I think people. I think obviously we've got the redraft. We're talking about redraft here, but I think a lot of people are going to reach for him in everything, to be honest with you, and stuff. Like even in Dynasty, they're probably going to reach further than he probably will go, which saw it with other players. But yeah, as from redraft perspective, I think it's going to be even bigger reach. And yeah, again, Roma Dunze and Neighbours. I agree with you, Paul. I do think, like, speaking of, like, sometimes I forget I'm on a redraft show, but speaking of Neighbours and stuff, I think he has got the big chance to put up the best production in year one. But for Roma Dunze as well, you know, I think he might not have as many yards and stuff as potential Neighbours, but as a red zone threat, I think he's going to be really dangerous, you know, like going forward as well. But in year one, you know, especially if he lands on, if he lands the Giants,
Go on,
stuff,
put a team there. Put a team there. Go on, Jord.
I would.
Where did he land?
On the Cardinals at number 4.
Oh, bye.
But yeah, I would probably have more of Neighbours and Adunze. Yeah, I hate to agree with you, Paul, but yeah.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm a really smart guy, George. You know.
On Underdog currently, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going as the wide receiver 11. Malik Neighbours is the wide receiver 23, and then Roma Dunze all the way down at wide receiver 32. So the problem with that is, it means that Marvin Harrison Jr. and Neighbours, you're probably Marvin Harrison Jr. you're probably drafting as your wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. Roma Dunze you can get as your 3. So you don't need him in redraft to produce immediately. So that, I think, to me, like, if that ADP stays the same, there is not enough of a gap between each of those 3 players for them to each be going 2 rounds apart.
Yeah, I agree. But to me, that's exactly what I was just saying. Like, looking at like MHJ at 11, there's no way that I'm picking him there. Absolutely no way. Not in a redraft. Like, you know, Dynasty, yeah, smash. I'm all over that. MHJ at wide receiver 11, I'm going to take that, you know. But in redraft, he's not there for me. He's and that's why I think I'll get more of somebody like a Neighbours, somebody like a Dunze. You know, that's why I'll get them sort of players. But yeah, moving on. So landing spots. George's favourite topic for MHJ seems to be split between the Cardinals and the Patriots. But could he fall a little further if teams trade up to 3 or 4? Where is your ideal landing spot for him for fantasy? Now, Jord, I won't make you answer this one first. So, Lewis, I'll throw it to you. What do you think for Marvin Harris Jr.?
Well, he's potentially the best player in the draft, but the problem is, if the Patriots go quarterback, then I think 4 becomes the spot that that people want to trade up, that the Vikings especially will want to trade up for, just to make sure no one else can do it, to go and get that 4th quarterback, which means that you talking about him going to the Cardinals for the whole off season suddenly falls to pieces. I don't think he falls any further than 5. I think if he fell to Justin Herbert, I know we talk about the worries of the scheme and having Greg Roman alongside Jim Harbaugh, that like they're just going to run the ball over and over again. But even if Justin Herbert only threw 20 times a game, if he's on that team, 15 of them are going to Marvin Harrison Jr. And like, that's one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, and it's a wide open depth chart as well. So I think that, to me, would be an unreal landing spot.
I love it. Jord, what do you think, mate? Do you think he goes to your divisional rivals and the Arizona Cardinals?
There's a chance I could. It's a good point from Lewis. Obviously, if a couple of months ago we weren't thinking about 4th quarterback until the NFL started liking JJ McCarthy, which was a shock to me. But obviously they do. But also, Paul, if you think about what their people are saying, some people think Neighbours is ahead of MJ, so you could be getting Neighbours at number 4. Thing, but I still think that Harrison is going to be the first wide receiver. You've got to pick between the lines of like what's true and what's not, haven't you, when it comes to this time of every year? And I think MHJ is going to be the first off. And yeah, if someone does trade up to that 4th spot for the quarterback, Chargers aren't going to pass him on there and stuff. So it's either Cardinals or Chargers, and you're definitely, no offense, Paul, but Chargers is the best spot for me.
Kick
I've got
me
a lot of
while I-
Michael Wilson. I've got a lot of Michael Wilson.
kick me while I'm down here, mate. You tell me that it could be neighbours, and then you tell me that I think it's going to be better if he lands at the Chargers. Do you know whose show you're on? You know. No, so I'm seeing a lot at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of rumours where there's a lot of talk saying the Cardinals are open to trading out of that spot and stuff like this. I'm not a big fan of it. I think if MHJ's there, we're on the clock. I'd love to see him. I'd love to see us take him. You know, he's such a generational talent. But I totally get if we can move back. You know what I mean? If we can move back, say with the Vikings, so move from 4 to 11, so move back 7 spots, pick up maybe an extra first round pick. You know, I don't know what we'd get in that trade. If we could maybe get that, move back, get an extra first round pick and stuff like that, and still maybe sort of sneak a good, like, you know, we have mentioned the wide receiver class is really good. I think if we could pick another wide receiver in them spots, I think I'd be fairly happy with that. Like you said, it obviously depends on what the Patriots do at 3. Do they take that at the quarterback? Do the Vikings rate JJ McCarthy that high? Do they think he's worth coming up to the number 4 pick and paying up to get him? Do they think he'll fall to them later? I don't know. For me, with Marvin Harris Jr. talking about his fantasy value, I don't think it really matters where he lands.
No.
You know, we talk about talent always like shines through, always outweighs like landing spot and everything like that. And I think he is. I think sometimes you could argue that, and talent is good, but landing spot can play a big part. But I just think Marvin Harris Jr. I think, to be fair, any one of these wide receivers, I think landing spot is probably irrelevant. I think all 3 of them can do it wherever they do it, as long as somebody's going to throw them the ball, they're going to catch it, like, you know. So I think landing spot's not really that important. I just hope it's the Cardinals. But yeah, so we should move on. And we've spoke a lot about our sort of top 3 rookies, and I suppose you haven't spoken enough about Odunze yet, have you, George? Do you want to speak about him more, because you promised me an hour of Odunze? So, but
where's he going to land? Where's Odunze going to land?
Oh man,
if it's not the Bears, you think it's going to be the Giants, don't you, and stuff, you know, like. But I prefer it to be the Bears, you know. Obviously, it's probably Caleb Williams and stuff and everything. You know, I've been big fans of them both for a long time as a Pac-12 junkie. Pac-12 no more, so I've got to root for the final Pac-12 guys out in the NFL. But yeah, that'd be good at the Bears. But yeah, it's okay, Paul. I've done enough. It's fine. We'll move on.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Are you sure? So we've said MHJ to the Chargers, Odunze to the Bears. Where's Neighbours going to land then?
Do you want me to do that one as well?
Yeah, I want you to do that one as well. To be honest, mate, Rich Cooney's rookie guide has got 60 odd wide receivers on there or something like that. So we could go through all of them if you want.
We got time
and landing spots.
I don't think we've got time. You've got to be up early in the morning, Paul.
Yeah, sleep's overrated.
Yeah, Paul. New York Giants, won't it? We'll go New York Giants and Chicago Bears are doing the same. I'll just follow every single mock draft out there.
Mock draft.
Can't go wrong. I'll just blame everyone else.
But yeah, so I think this is we're all in agreement here. But I'll let you guys speak about it for a little bit. But yeah, we've all got our top 3. But I'm quite interested to find out who the wide receiver 4 is. And we've all said the same guy. So Lewis, who have we all gone for as the wide receiver 4? Shock.
We've all gone for the fastest man in NFL history, Xavier Worthy out of Texas. And this is someone like I was.
Oh sorry.
I was almost a little a little disappointed when he went and broke the combine record, because he's someone that I've loved for a while. He was my wide receiver 4 before the combine. Like, we knew that he was fast, but breaking that record has brought him to everyone's attention, which frustrated me, because I was hoping he'd go a little bit underrated and under the radar. But he's not just a deep threat. That's the thing. People are like, oh, John Ross, because that's who he took the record from. But he is a fantastic separator. He's incredibly quick. Obviously, he has like track speed, but he like has a really good feeling for zone coverage as well. And as a route runner, is absolutely electric as well. So it's not just like the elite speed; it's the agility as well, and kind of that football IQ, which I think is fantastic. Which is why I absolutely like. He basically fits into the mold of the type of wide receiver I was saying at the beginning of the show that I love. So it's no surprise that he's my 4, but I am a little sad that everyone is now paying attention to him as well.
Yeah, Jord, anything to add on Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, I think Lewis covered most of it, but like I think everyone's mentioning like McConkey as like this amazing route runner, and like he's very good, but Xavier Worthy is arguably, in my opinion, obviously I might get slated for this, I think he's better when it comes to in the red zone. Some of his touchdowns, some of the plays in there and stuff, he just puts. He's sending them to the kiosk, some popcorn or something. Like he's so good. He's like really underrated, and I think last year obviously he had a bit of a down year, but that because they had so much talent in the room, Texas at the same time and stuff. They really brought people in with a transfer portal, but he still had a really good year, even though it was compared to the other 2 years and stuff. He was like the main wide receiver, but yeah, he's so good. He's like I say, he's more than just a speed guy, like Louis said, but he's just so fun to watch, and he's even like yards after catch, put the ball in his hand and stuff, and he's just obviously with that speed, and he's just so slippery. He's like, it's weird, like talking about how high I am on him, and he's wide receiver 4 in this class. It's just this class is really good.
Yeah, it is a very, very good class, to be fair. So Jord, where do you think he's going to land? And why is it the Miami Dolphins? Why do we all think it's... Oh, because he's quick.
I don't know where I came.
I won't put that one on you. I won't put that on you. But yeah, we'll move on to the next bit, which opportunity is less important at wide receiver than it is running back or tight end, but landing spot does still make a difference. So, guys, where is your favorite spot to see a rookie wide receiver land and make an immediate impact in year 1? What sort of teams? Now, I love the teams that we've all put down here, and I think the one has shocked me a little bit, and that's yours, George. So we'll come to you first. It's a team that I don't think anyone's really thinking about as a landing spot for a wide receiver, but it definitely is. So who have you gone with?
I've gone with the Dallas Cowboys, just because you never know what's going to happen when they draft. But obviously they've got CD Lamb there, and then they've got Brandon Cooks, who's done really well. Obviously, I think I drafted quite a lot of him last year, thinking he'd probably have a better season. He started a decent season, but obviously he's getting on a bit now, and Jalen Tolbert's done pretty well there, but there's a space there for a wide receiver too. And if they do draft someone at the back end of round 1, people like Keon Coleman, over there, I doubt Xavier Worthy gets that far, but maybe who knows what's going to happen. But if it's someone like that at the end of the round, then yeah, I'll be really looking at that player in fantasy drafts. But yeah, like I said, you never know what Dallas are going to do. They're unexpected, but they are in need of a wide receiver. But it just depends if there's someone there that they really like, that I think they will select him. It's say where if it does get there and stuff, or they're massive Keon Coleman fans, that they're going to pick him up and stuff. But even going further down, if they do pick someone that's in the round 2 and stuff, it's I think they will pick someone in the top 2 rounds at wide receiver if they've got a round 2 pick out. Obviously, they probably do, but yeah.
Well, the CD Lamb pick no one was anticipating, and now he's basically the only wide receiver on the roster. They had you sort of can't have enough. So they had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup at the time, and everyone was like, they're fine. And then they take a wide receiver who's now, arguably top 5 in the NFL, and it's such a smart pick.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Everyone, when you sort of go through your head and through your process and stuff like this, and you sort of go, "Oh, who needs a wide receiver?" You don't think Dallas. You don't go, "Oh, Dallas need a wide receiver," because you just go, "CD Lamb's there. It's fine. They don't need another wide receiver." But
Yeah,
we all know that there is room there for a wide receiver too, and if Dak's throwing the ball, and we've seen that he does like to throw the ball plenty of times. We've seen what he's done with CD Lamb and everything like that. I wasn't thinking about Dallas Cowboys, but I will be watching to see who they take with their first round pick, and Jerry Jones goes off like a bottle of pop again, and you just don't know which way it's going to come or anything, So, but yeah, Lewis, who's your team?
so I've got 2. There was we already spoke about the Chargers, but actually, since we've put this show sheet together, the landscape of a team has changed, and the Buffalo Bills traded away Stephon Diggs, and now they're potentially one of the best landing spots as well. Now, obviously, they pick much later, or there's lots of rumors about them looking to move up. It would cost a lot to go up and get one of those top 3. But the Bills, whoever lands there is going to get 100 targets year one, and has an elite thrower of the ball as well, and an offense that does like to throw the ball. Although after the bye last season, with Joe Brady, they did change up what they were doing and run the ball a little more. But yeah, since we put this together, I mean that's fascinating that you've got 2 of the top quarterbacks in the league looking for a wide receiver 1. That's with the Chargers and the Bills, that's fantastic for rookies coming in, and it aligns very nicely with this class.
Yeah, you've got 3 because you've got Kyler Murray as well.
Oh, sure. Greg Dortch season.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought about this one. I didn't want to be a homer and sit here and go, "Oh, the Arizona Cardinals." They do need a wide receiver. They're desperate for one. But the other 2 teams are the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have got a lot of wide receiver 2s on their team, and I think they are in the market for a wide receiver 1. And the other one for me are the Chiefs, and I think they've been hoping somebody could do it for years now, like Kadarius Toney, and who was the other guy they had? Oh, why can't I remember his name right now? Before, in between Kadarius Toney and Rashee Rice, there was another one, wasn't there? I can't remember his name. Sky Moore, that's him. They were hoping he was going to be the answer, and he's not. And I just think the Chiefs are somebody that are in the market for a wide receiver. And I think kind of like the Dallas Cowboy conversation, I think that is a team that whoever they draft, I am going to be kind of excited about. And I could see them maybe going for somebody at the back end of the first round. So it might be interesting to see who goes there. But yeah, so moving on, we shall get on to are there any players that you are higher than consensus on and would like to take as a flyer in sort of the last rounds of best ball or redraft leagues this season? So I know you guys have gone quite deep with this one, haven't you? So Lewis, who have you gone for? And just to make this fun, any chance you can find the underdog ADP on these guys? So we can sort of see what round they're going in.
I absolutely can. So Jordan and I, we were talking before the show, and it turns out that we basically have gone for the same 2 guys. We've kind of just gone either way with it. So I mean, obviously you're a gigantic Washington fan, and Jalen McMillan out of Washington has been my guy this offseason. Fantastic route runner, really sort of solid hands, really good through contact. Smaller guy, obviously was injured last year, so has sort of gone a little bit under the radar. Jalen McMillan is going currently on Underdog as the wide receiver 97.
Wow.
But in PPR formats, like he's a slot. He's a really solid slot receiver, and he gets open quickly and he catches the ball, and like that's a flex level play straight away. So I think like in terms of floor picks, and I know yours is much more ceiling than floor, but in terms of floor picks, he's going to come straight into the league as someone that could catch kind of 60 balls in his rookie season. And I don't think there's too many wide receivers that can do that.
Do you think he does it?
I don't think he does. No, it depends on where he lands. I think people will be surprised how good he is at the end of the season. He's not. I'm not that high on him that I'm like Jalen McMillan is my wide receiver 4. Like I think he's my either 8 or 9, which is much higher than consensus. But I think he's just very good at doing wide receiver things. Like as a wide receiver, you need to get open and you need to catch the ball, and he's very good at doing that. And I think he has one of the highest floors of anyone outside kind of that top 3 or 4 at the position.
Love it. And Jord, who is it you went for?
So I had to pivot and away from Jalen McMillan and pick someone else, but I went for Jermaine Burton, who is a solid player. You know, there's obviously probably his route running is probably his main weakness. Like it's okay and stuff. I think it can be worked on and stuff, but it's very inconsistent. And I don't know if that's. I'll get onto it in a second. I don't know if that's the personality of who he is and stuff. But yeah, he's really good with the deep ball. You know, he's got good hands. You know, really on back shoulder fades was absolute brilliant for Alabama and Georgia before. But yeah, he's quite a good, strong late round pick for me. I think we touched on it before he came on. His problem is his attitude, and I don't know if that is the reason why sometimes when he comes out of his routes and stuff where it looks like it's half-assed, for the lack of a better word, and stuff. Who knows? But I think that's his problem and stuff. It's one of them where I will take a flyer on him late on, but you just don't know. You'd hope in him going into the NFL, people can get his arm around him and he can like get on the straight and narrow and sort himself out. But he has got, without going into too much detail, but I really don't encourage, but he's not got the best attitude. But he's worth a flyer of the talent that he's got, though.
He'll either be out the league in 2 seasons, or he'll be the guy that everyone speaks about and goes, why didn't we take the chance? Like, I think if we just drafted off potential, I did put out an article about this with a high upside sleeper at each position, and Jermaine Burton was who I wrote up because I agree with you with his route running that like I don't think he's a bad route runner. I think he's a good route runner. I think he's lazy, and I think in terms of just upside, I think he's a first round pick if he doesn't have the attitude issues and like didn't manage to put it all together in college. That's the problem, that like the talent is unbelievable, but he's never really done it consistently. So it's never caught more than 40 passes in the season. He's the next rookie wide receiver after Jalen McMillan, so he's going as the wide receiver 101.
I'd love to know what round that like fits into. Are we talking sort of around, in a 22 round draft, something like that? I don't think he's going to be taken, is he?
Yeah, well, so overall they're going at 238 and 242, so that's 20th round.
So absolutely perfect for a late round flyer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll move on to last year. Only one rookie wide receiver finished in the top 24 at the position. So guys, how many rookie wide receivers do you think finish in the top 24 this season? Lewis, we'll start with you with this one, shall we?
I think just one. Wide receiver is really deep in this draft class, but wide receiver in the NFL is also incredibly deep. And when I was looking at kind of rookie wide receiver production from last year, and you were like, yeah, Jordan Addison had a great year, but yeah, Tank Dell had a great year, and yeah, all of these other players, like obviously Puka Nacua, whose jersey I'm currently wearing, that's my one per episode. And I was surprised to see how few rookie wide receivers actually finish in the top 24. So I think it will end up just being one, because the position in the NFL is, if you think about the players that means they have to beat to finish in the top 24, that's going to be hard.
You know what my next question is going to be, don't you?
Where does
Who
Puka
is
get
it?
drafted?
Who is it? No, we're not talking about Puka. Puka is so last year. Okay, move on.
My guy, Marvin Harrison Jr.
You think he does it? Do you? You think he does
Yeah.
it and he finishes in the top 24? Jord, what about you, mate? I think me and you are quite similar with this one.
Yeah, I went for two. I was just my concept of this was just like you've got three high-end wide receivers. Obviously, it would depend on landing spot, but like the talent of Neighbours and Harrison, especially, it won't. If you ask me to put money on it, I won't do it, but I'll say two. But yeah, you just got
be brave, Jord. Put money on it, man. I'd put money on it. I'd put £1 on it.
There's a pound. Calm down, Paul. But yeah, I just think with the talent with the three, obviously, like say, especially I think like Lewis mentioned, if one of them managed to land on the Chargers, it would obviously favour the chance maybe of two sneaking in. But obviously, we don't know that now. But I'd take my chance at two. I hope I'm right.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I'm going to say two. So I want to know: are your two Neighbours and Marvin Harris Jr., or are you throwing in your guy Odunze instead of one of them?
You beat me to it. I was going to say no. You're talking about Paul Odunze, clearly. One of them. But now you'd expect Neighbours and Marvin Harrison to be the two.
Yeah, I think they're the two for me. I think one of them maybe could finish in the top 20, and I think the other one maybe sneaks in as like wide receiver 24, 23 maybe. I think in redraft, so like the first year, it's always really difficult, and I think people need to be very cautious with how they draft their rookies, and remember that you're not so much playing dynasty. I don't think we have anyone that does sort of like what Puka Nacua did last year. Here we go, Lewis. We get to talk about him for a second. I think people are hoping that all of these rookie wide receivers are going to come in and it's, oh my God, they're going to set the world alight and do everything and stuff. When the reality is, like you said, Lewis, the depth chart for the NFL at wide receiver position is deep. It's very good. There's a lot of good players. You know, you could name 5 or 6 off the bat that you're like, any one of these could finish as the wide receiver 1 next year, you know, and not even have to stop and think about it. You could just be like, bah, 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 drop names on, and you're going, right. So you've already, you know, he's only got 18 players left or 18 spots left to finish within the top 24. So I think it's very, very difficult. Whereas running backs are completely different. You could see 2, 3, maybe even 4 of them jumping in the top 24, you know, and the running back is a class that we're not talking about in the same sort of manner here, you know. So yeah, I do think 2 of them. I think Neighbours and I think Marvin Harris Jr. do sneak into that top 24. But yeah, guys, quick question for you. Any final thoughts on this wide receiver class? Jord, I tell you what, is there any other wide receiver that you'd like to talk about more than what you have so far?
I'll keep it short and stuff. But there is a third. Just if you didn't know anyone, there is a third Washington receiver that's pretty good as well, called Jalen Paul.
Oh, let's talk about Washington wide receivers. Okay,
not as good as the other two. But he's still okay. But it's a very good wide receiver class, and you go on the timeline and stuff, and you see people throwing loads of different names out, and obviously some you might not agree with, but it just shows you how deep it is. You know, like how many. Because say I have a different concept to you two about wide receivers, but there's still a big chunk of like how many we were like. You know, it's similar and stuff and everything. That's how deep it is, and it's going to be interesting to see some of these late flyers that go. You know, like in obviously. I keep going on a dynasty. Sorry, guys, but if you later guys and stuff and everything, but that see how they do in year 1 and year 2. It's really interesting. Like I say, I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Lewis, any final thoughts?
I think it's quite similar to what you were talking about, Paul, a minute ago, which is when you take these rookie wide receivers in redraft, make sure that you know why you're taking them and how it fits into your roster. So if you're taking a rookie as your wide receiver one, you need to look to think about the way that the rest of your roster is constructed to make sure that you can make up for the fact that they might not produce immediately. At the same time, be patient. If you draft a rookie, know that it might take them until after the bye week to properly explode. Rookie wide receivers tend to perform better in the latter half of their rookie season, and also then to be very active on waivers because some absolutely elite players or some fantastic players will break out towards the end of their rookie season, and you can get some really fantastic guys as they start to explode towards the end. So just kind of when you draft these rookie wide receivers in redraft, make sure that you know why you're drafting them and how you're going to treat them.
I absolutely love it. I was going to echo all that, but you've put it beautifully for me. But yeah, guys, that brings us to the end of the show. Jord, please tell the listeners where they can find you, what you've got coming up on the Devy show. Sell yourself to everyone,
I'll try my best. Obviously find me on X. I know a lot of us say Twitter, but I'll use the X, Jord M87. Like I say, on the Devy show, we've got a lot coming up talking about trades, I think, on the next episode in a couple of weeks' time. And obviously do a little bit of writing as well for Fansided at Ole Miss. And I'll throw out a wide receiver that we might want to look at next year, just to see as though we're on the topic of wide receivers, called Trey Harris from Ole Miss. If you watch out for him, and if he doesn't work out, just disregard this episode.
Lewis, clip it, and send it to Fantasy Receipts. Yeah. No, Jord. Thanks for coming on. Please go and check out the guys. Is it at Wildcard Devy?
It is, yeah.
Go check them all out there. I believe, seeing as my watch on my phone is going absolutely mental next to me, I believe the latest episode has dropped tonight. So please go check that out. And Lewis, thanks for coming on again. Thanks for turning up. I shall see you. We shall see you all next week.
Take